So we're going to get into it today. This is Aaron Cook coming from Physical Therapy and Balance Center in Menor. I'm joined today by Kyle Kish of Truehold. Kyle is an OTR as well as you are certified aging placement. What is the official acronym for that?
CAPS, so Certified Aging in Place Specialist.
And you have your MBA as well.
Correct, yes.
Fantastic. So I met Kyle at a recent business event, and I really love what his company has to offer, especially given that he is an occupational therapist. He knows intricately all of the challenges that seniors face when they are placed in the home, or if they're having any issues as far as living by themselves, if they're looking to go into a nursing home, or if they just need some home health. So I know you are an expert on all things discharge planning. You have an acute care background, much like I do.
Both of us, yeah.
And we're going to talk today a little bit about what constitutes a safe home discharge, and what his company Truehold can offer for people that are in that situation. So you want to just give us a minute or two about your general background?
Yeah. Background for me, been doing occupational therapy for about 6 years now. Acute care, like you said, hospital, so bedside, through the Cleveland Clinic. Dabbled in some home health therapy as well as geriatric focus with Fox Rehab. So kind of dabbled all around, and then also during COVID, furloughed while I was with Fox, so decided to kind of venture out. So took on a clinical liaison position, so kind of learned the intricacies of insurance, what happens behind the scenes. Because as therapists, we don't truly know everything that goes on behind the scenes, but it definitely painted a picture on how everything's parlayed.
And I'm sure you probably share the same sentiment I do, is as therapists, we would say, in the ideal world, this patient would receive X, Y, and Z.
Oh, absolutely.
And then we go to the insurance company and they say, well, we'll give you X.
Yep.
So unfortunately, we have to kind of live in the system that we're in. No one claims that our healthcare system is perfect. So I think your company has some innovative ideas on just how to circumvent some of these particular challenges that people face, especially when it comes to finances. So
absolutely.
All right. So tell me a little bit about just your day-to-day experience as an OT working on the acute setting. I spent many years working in an acute care hospital, and PTs, OTs, and case managers are ultimately the ones who make that the recommendation for what's safe. Is this person safe to go home? That could be either they're weak from a fall, either they have a broken hip or a stroke or Parkinson's, but there's also a cognitive component to that. And one of the unfortunate realities of our job is sometimes having that conversation with somebody who may be in that early Alzheimer's or early dementia. And when is safe enough is always a difficult question to answer. So
yeah,
I'm going to let you take that ball and run with it a little bit.
Yeah, so that's a challenging part. So as bedside therapists in the acute care setting, our questions are based on home setup, basic, how many steps you have to get into your home. Are you on the first floor setup, second floor? Who's at home with you? What equipment do you have at home? Do you feel safe at home? What other resources do you use or do you know about in the area? And those are kind of where we start asking the questions, and we could kind of answer a lot from that point. So kind of like conversation we had before, we have some discharge recommendations where someone's on the fence. And what that means, someone can either go home with a little extra support, or the kind of whole CYA, safety first, we're going to send you to a little bit of rehab because you'll have that reinforcement, that 24-hour supervision. But with that being on the fence, if someone has the opportunity to either purchase more resources,
getting more home health services, getting more DME, more walkers. Some people would be 3 times safer if, let's say, we gave them a walker at discharge.
Absolutely.
Or would be 5 times safer if we gave them recommended home health PT or outpatient PT and OT. And you referenced some conversations we've had behind the scenes, and just some ballpark numbers. When we're deciding is this person safe for home, I would say maybe 40% of people, it's okay, listen, we need to have this conversation. It's time to talk about a rehab, and it's time to talk a nursing home.
Yeah.
There's 40% of people that you're clearly safe. Here's a couple of things that would make you more safe, but you're going to be just fine. But it's that 20% gray area, the tweeners, as I call them, that represent such a large challenge to the healthcare community, because from a employee standpoint or from a therapist perspective, we always want what's best for our patients.
Absolutely.
And if I'm sitting there saying, I'm not 100% sure that you would be safe to take care of yourself at home, if I'm torn, I'm going to lean into, well, let's try a rehab, which is easy for me to say, but that's not easy if you're paying tens of thousands of dollars for a rehab. That's not easy if you're going to be away from your family for weeks to months, particularly during COVID, where you may or may not be able to have visitors in these facilities. So it's easy for us to make these recommendations, but they're not easy recommendations to live by. So that kind of segues nicely into what Truehold does, and I keep calling Truehold your company, which makes it sound like you're the owner, but you are not the owner, you are not the operator, but you are. What is your official title? The market manager?
Yeah, healthcare market manager.
Healthcare market manager,
Yes.
And that's mostly the Cleveland area. Are you branching down into Akron or?
Basically all Cleveland. I've ventured out to Akron a little bit. It's wherever people could do it. Our internal team will look at the zip codes, see what numbers work out best. So realistically, it boils down to real estate nuances internally and what can work and what can be most beneficial for each person.
Certainly, and finances are never something that me as a therapist feel good about. I never feel good asking for money or telling patients what things are going to cost, but like I said, that's unfortunately not the reality that we live in. So
Correct.
All we can do is the best that we can with the information and resources that we have. So
absolutely.
We've spoken. I do genuinely feel very positively about your company, but we've kind of spoken off mic that if I heard the pitch of your company in the wrong context, it would rub me the wrong way.
Yeah.
It would sound, it kind of draws, reminiscences of, Joe Namath, on TV talking about these reverse mortgages, and, then you see the long-term effect of that. And I would look at your company and go, oh my gosh, that's not the case.
Yeah, correct.
When we've spoken, we spoke for a good hour before this, and I do genuinely feel that you guys are very well intentioned, and you guys do offer a complicated but much needed service at a very difficult point in people's lives.
Very true, yes.
So I hope that paints you in a good light. Tell me a little bit, as I understand this, the Truehold company has two main services. You have the SLIF program, which I know is not rolled out yet in Cleveland, but is coming soon.
Correct.
And then you have the sale leaseback, did I say that right?
Yeah, the sale leaseback's the primary one right now. So the sale leaseback is where our company will essentially purchase the home from the individual for 100% market value. So the way I describe that, if you're going to sell your home to anyone else using a realtor, the same way they pull up comps. So like if you have a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom home, that's how they come to the price point for the sale. Mm-hmm. And then when you do the leaseback, same thing.
So we're talking about the sale leaseback program that Truehold provides, and you were saying that you're giving as fair of a price as can be offered whenever you're talking about buying someone's home, particularly someone who is actively having medical conditions, maybe going through cancer treatment, maybe going through Parkinson's, maybe going through dementia or Alzheimer's. You want to make sure that everybody is mutually beneficial, and that's from hearing the details of your company. I do believe that it's very mutually beneficial.
Absolutely.
So tell me a little bit about what kind of client would be, the ideal person looking for some of these sale leasebacks?
Yeah, absolutely. So that can actually vary. Because we are not a reverse mortgage, we don't have the discrepancy where someone has to be 62 or older, and we don't give out debt, essentially. Mm-hmm. Reverse mortgage is a debt. So if you're taking out a reverse mortgage to pay for healthcare costs, you're taking on a debt and you only get about 40 to 50% of your home equity. Mm-hmm. With us, it's a sale leaseback, so that's the 100%. So you're doubling the amount of money you can get while also being able to stay at home and not take on debt.
Yeah.
So
the stay home feature is really where as a therapist I'm interested. You've worked with people with dementia much like I have, and one of the things that I know about caring for people with dementia or Alzheimer's is routine and structure is absolutely critical. Yeah. And I've seen all too many people that they couldn't keep up with their home life and they got admitted to a nursing facility, and no offense to the nursing facilities, but it just wasn't structured or routine enough for that person to adapt.
Yeah, it's a different context. So.
They function so much better within their home, within their environment. They feel safer, they feel secure.
Yeah.
So if for somebody who is in that position, or a family that's stuck with that decision of, are we going to put mom in a home, or are we going to keep her in a home or keep her at home? You guys are really the only really option that I've really heard to really take on that financial burden.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of like what you're just saying, it can vary. Someone that's bridging that gap of, hey, am I trying to go to an assisted living or a senior living community? Hey, do I need to downsize? Is my house a little too much to handle right now? Those are the perfect people, honestly. With the aging in place being so huge, AARP put out a stat that over 90% of our elderly people want to age in place at home, their home. So that's the biggest component there. And with the sale leaseback, that allows them the opportunity to use the financial assets of their home to pay for healthcare costs if they need extra therapy for balance, nursing, transportation, anything like that. It'll allow them to use those assets appropriately, I guess you could say. So
one of the things that I think shocked me so much when I started really getting involved with elder care and working with people in this condition, and I keep saying elder care, but you have alluded that there are younger people that this may apply to. If there's let's say a 40-year-old with God forbid a terminal cancer, or something like this. When somebody is in that position, these sorts of options make sense. These options don't make sense for your normal regular 9-to-5 person. That's not really what this is for. This is for somebody who has unfortunately found themselves in a serious medical predicament, more likely than not. So for many people, I was very shocked when I started working with elders and people that were trying to age in place. I was shocked, and as many people are, to find out what is not covered by Medicare. When you're talking personal care assistance, when you're talking in-home nursing, when you're talking therapy, physical therapy to get stronger so you can stay at home, may or may not be covered by Medicare in certain contexts. Certainly Medicare's come a long way for reimbursing PT, but there's certain stipulations where you may only qualify for a home health PT. That's something I deal with at physical all the time. We have our whole our overhead system, and we want to improve people's balance, and we get them all harnessed up. But if somebody's receiving home nursing for something completely unrelated, Medicare won't pay for them to come to outpatient therapy. And no disrespect to my home health PTs, I know many, they do good work, but there's only so much you can do in the home.
Absolutely.
And you'll always be limited by what that individual's home is. So giving these people options to go elsewhere, I think is a public good. It's we're allowing them to get more services that help them continue to age as healthily as possible. So to your point about the sale leaseback, is those finances from selling the house can go a long way in terms of in-home care, in terms of somebody to help prepare meals, somebody to help clean up. These things unfortunately cost money, and people are in for a rude awakening when grandma breaks their hip and we'll just have Medicare come in for an aid a couple times a week. And
not that easy, no.
And it is far from that easy, as much as we would like to. And then that's not even talking about Medicare versus Advantage plans, and that's a whole quagmire I don't even want to go down.
No, not good.
So from my perspective for Truehold, it's you guys really are providing a service where this is money that isn't going with you. Let's be honest. This you're not taking this money when you pass.
Correct.
Let's use this money while you can to maximize your quality of life for as long as possible. Absolutely. Let's get you that extra therapy. Let's get you that in-home aid. Let's get you that extra cook, so you're not relying on family members for meals, or relying on frozen dinners and canned foods. And hey, maybe if you started eating healthier and you had somebody preparing you better meals, maybe you would do better with some of your chronic illnesses. So
absolutely.
Everybody wins.
Lifestyle choices.
Lifestyle choices, yes. So do you feel like you've appropriately stated the goals of the sale leaseback, or do you feel like there's more that you would want to offer for that particular service?
So with the sale leaseback, not only do we buy the home, but we take on landlord responsibilities.
Yes.
So we take on homeowners insurance, property taxes, home maintenance repairs. So say we purchased your home and you guys had a crazy windstorm, shingles blew off, that's our responsibility as landlords to repair that, not yours anymore. And we also provide discounted rates for landscaping, snow and ice removal, anything that you can think of, especially in our Cleveland weather here.
Yes, I have personal experience with this. Is my grandpa, 84 years old, bless his heart. He was the poster child for, what is that gutter company? Leaf Guard. Leaf Guard. My grandpa climbed up the ladder, 84 years old, gust of wind, fell, broke his pelvis, was in a rehab for 3 months. Fortunately, he came out of it. He's doing great. He's all well and good, but that was 3 months of his life that he was stuck in pain and suffering. That didn't have to be the case. And particularly for people that are in that more frail or fragile medical condition, I mean, it's not uncommon for them to have hazards develop in the house because of their inability to clean. I was speaking with a firefighter today, and we were talking just about how a lot of times firefighters get called in when someone falls at home, and falls are something that are near and dear to my heart, owning a balance clinic.
Absolutely.
And you would be shocked, is what the firefighter told me, at just how cluttered some of these houses are. And it's people that have been, well-meaning, responsible people their entire life. It's not something where I would blame them. It's just, the home falls into disrepair at times, as your vision goes, as your mobility goes, and it's an unfortunate reality. It's kind of an ugly truth, but anybody that's been in homes with a lot of these people know that it is a serious problem that we do not do a good job of addressing. And I latch on to anybody that can do anything to solve some of these more complex problems, and that's why I was drawn to your, this Truehold service. So, was there anything else on the sale leaseback you wanted to discuss? I think the landlord responsibility is just
that part's
fantastic. So beneficial, just to not have to salt your driveway and not have to mow your lawn. If you're 92 years old, that is worth every penny in my book.
Absolutely, I agree. The other main components are that it's not a reverse mortgage, so people usually get a little leery or worried, like, oh, this is going to be one of those other reverse mortgages or something that's going to bite me in the butt in the end. It's not one of those. So it's not a debt. It's just straightforward. You're selling the home, we're purchasing it, becoming the landlord, get the ability to age in place appropriately, utilize any resources. What we're also working on, what you touched upon, SLIT, which is seniors living in the home.
Yes.
The way, as us therapists would describe it, is it's kind of tiered assisted living in the home before going into a senior living community. Mm-hmm. So the way I would describe it, there's like 3 tiers. Again, it's a prototype, so they're still kind of fixing out the nuances, price points, everything like that. But we would work with local entities, so like home health companies. Physical would be a great example too, to work on balance, strength training, anything like that for elderly. Transportation, meal preps, anything like that for step 1. Step 2 might include a caregiver. The caregiver could help out with bathing, ADLs, activities of daily living. So anything of that sort. And then the 3rd tier would be a little more hands-on. But once that comes about, once you get to that 3rd tier, our care manager would have a conversation with the individual, as well as either healthcare power of attorney, whoever that one trusts for their decisions, to say, hey, it's a little hands-on at home, not as safe as anyone would really like it. Let's have that conversation about what the next steps can be.
And your company is, at the end of the day, you guys are, I wouldn't describe you as purely a financial company, but I wouldn't describe you as a purely healthcare company.
Correct. Yeah.
You're in this weird blend of those two, and that may sound scary, from a private sector, but let's look at what healthcare has become. Healthcare has become nothing but healthcare people mixing with money people. And
absolutely.
So while that may sound drastic, it's unfortunately par for the course. So, you guys are having that conversation of, what options do I have and what options do you need? And very few companies are able to bridge that gap in a way that works for everyone. Just to go back to something, on when people are going through this process of, selling your home can be is obviously a big commitment.
Correct.
And particularly when you're talking about people that may or may not have some memory loss issues. That is a very delicate conversation that needs to be had. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe if there's any sort of I don't know the legal term, but a next of kin, or you're involving the family in this process. This is not something that they're doing. They're signing something on one phone call and the house is gone the next day. That is not what you guys are doing.
Not at all.
This is a step-by-step process. Everybody is well informed along the way of, we are selling your home. We are going to buy it at fair market value. You're more than welcome to look at other properties in the area, see if this appears to be a fair price. And hey, because we have our own network of people and brokers and all these things, hey, we're saving some money on the cost of actually selling a house. I moved about 2 years ago, and you're paying 6% just to, you're losing that right out the door.
Yeah, very quickly.
That's something where, because of the way your company is growing and building connections with the community, you can cut that cost down as much as is feasible.
Absolutely.
But I think the well-informed step-by-step discussion is, I think, something that people would want to hear, because that's not a phone call or a letter you want to get as, hey, grandma sold her house and she's not paying her rent, and somebody has no idea. That is not what's happening here. This is there are long conversations with multiple people every step of the way to ensure that this is done ethically and by the books.
Absolutely. Yeah, we've actually had a couple of scenarios because we're in St. Louis, Kansas City, Cleveland, and just opened up in Cincinnati. So St. Louis is where they started, so they have more stories about working with people with dementia or any mild cognitive impairment, where they would call several times and ask the same questions and not realize that they had them answered.
Don't worry about it.
That they didn't have the question answered already 5 minutes ago. So at that point, our internal team will look and reach out and call the appropriate party, whether it's their children, whoever's power of attorney, healthcare power of attorney. Make sure they know, hey, your mom's looking at trying to sell your home to us. We just want you to know what's going on. If this is something you want, we're more than happy to talk, but we just want you guys to kind of have that conversation before this actually happens. So
good.
Absolutely.
Good. So as a balance therapist, one of the things that I was very intrigued by that your that Truehold offers is the ability to alter the home potentially through a network of your personal contractors and people that install wheelchair ramps and widen doors. As a therapist, I can't tell you how many falls happen because of houses that are built in 1895.
Oh yeah.
Ohio real estate is very unique compared to elsewhere in the world. I spent a lot of my career in Vegas, and I think the oldest home in Vegas is 50 years old.
Yeah. Nice.
Back when we had codes and we understood how things are. In Ohio, that is not the case. I've seen homes, split level homes. I live in a split level home.
Good.
Fantastic. I love it. It is the least accessible type of home for seniors, unfortunately.
Very true.
The second you have any sort of walking deficit, or the second you're on a walker, you've just lost half your square footage.
Absolutely.
So one of the things that I like is how much work you guys are able to do with some of the finances from the sale of the home, in terms of widening doorways, increasing things like night lights, or better lighting in stairwells. These are things that, from a balance perspective, are very high fall hazards.
Oh, very good.
You can give that room, if you've ever tried, look into your bathroom and see if you could fit a walker in there, and then see if you could do a 360 turn in there. I'll bet 50% of the people listening to this could not access a bathroom with a walker, particularly a rollator.
Yep.
And you'll see, and I see it all the time in my practice, one of my goals for therapy is I have to get the patient strong enough to walk with a cane, because they can't bring their walker into their bathroom. That is a conversation I have once a week, if not more.
I'm sure more, yeah.
And just the ability to, let's say, everybody's financial situations are obviously going to be different. If you're buying, a $250,000 house versus a $500,000 house, if they have a mortgage versus they have, it's completely paid off. Yes. So, certainly everyone's personal financial choices are going to limit what they can do. But, let's just say somebody gets $250,000 from the sale of their house. I'm just going to ballpark that. You could take $50,000 and make your home as safe as possible. And then you could use that remaining money plus, any Medicare money, any Social Security, any why am I blanking on the word? the thing that pensions, that's the word I was looking for. I was like, the thing that no companies do anymore. You know, give their people money when they retire. But the people that still do have that pension, you know, if you had that chunk of change sitting in your, you know, in your bank account, you had your home safe, you get a little extra medical care, enjoy that time, enjoy that money, and you know, you should be able to coast and live very comfortable, high quality of life in your own home.
Yes.
You know, as long as you're smart with it, as long as you know what it is going in, you know, it's really the best option to stay at home. And like we were saying earlier, I mean, that is invaluable for seniors. I've never met a senior that is really excited to go stay in a nursing home or to go stay in an assisted living facility. I mean, maybe they're out there and I haven't met them.
Nope.
But if you gave 100 people the choice, would you rather go to a nursing home or would you rather stay in your home, make your home a little safer and get a little bit of extra help in the home? I think 99.9% of people are going with that option.
Absolutely.
So, and I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't know any other companies that do this.
Yeah, that's what's so unique about this company right now is that I believe we are the first ones to introduce the sale leaseback in this component, as well as introducing SLIT, the senior living in the home component as well too. So touching on both real estate and healthcare, like you mentioned before, one of our team members said it's addressing two very unsexy items and combining them together.
Yes.
So that's how she described it.
Yes.
Like, that's spot on.
You know, it's like it's a crude analogy, but you know, it's, you know, nobody feels really good about being you know, a burial plot salesman.
Correct. Yeah.
Or, you know, selling caskets. That is not, nobody likes having that conversation.
Nope.
But if that's where we're at, somebody needs to do it,
Yeah.
and it may as well be someone that's going to do an ethical job and a good job for the right reasons. And that's what I'm hoping your you know, Truehold is going to become. And I could genuinely see this becoming a very big force in the American healthcare industry moving forward over the next decade or two, because, you know, especially as the baby boomer generation is you know, getting older and older, there are going to be millions of Americans that are faced with this decision.
Yeah.
And you know, I read an article recently about nursing shortages. They said by 2026 we're going to have some very serious nursing shortages.
Nice.
And if you combine that with a lot of people needing to be in a nursing home, it's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
So, you know, people are going to be looking for options like this moving forward.
Not to mention any, sorry, I'm going to cut you
No,
off.
no.
Not to mention any other new waves or breaks of COVID.
Yes.
People were blocked out of going in to visit at senior living communities. So basically alienating someone from family, friends, anything like that, that could cut off years of your life. And we're aware of that. Socialization is huge. Just being able to communicate with others is honestly therapy of itself. So.
It's you know, that's an issue that's near and dear to my heart, because you know, while I was building this clinic, I was working at a nursing home, you know, just kind of part-time to pay the bills, and I don't know if I've been in a more depressing place than a nursing home during COVID. And this was a nice nursing home. This was not a bad nursing home, but just the amount of seniors that I've had to have the conversation with, where, you know, the reason your wife isn't coming to see you is because we can't allow visitors right now. And you have that conversation every day, five times a day, 10 times a day for 6 months, a year. This is a real problem, and it is really, really affecting the people that we're trying to protect the most. You know, these are the most vulnerable people, and certainly we all want to do our part to limit the spread of COVID. That's obviously clear, but there is this quality of life component that needs to be addressed. And I don't know offhand what the current visitor policies are for nursing homes. I would assume it's varying facility to facility, but it's not uncommon to see people sitting outside windows waving to their grandmas. It's not uncommon to see people hugging via Skype or via Zoom, or sitting in front of plexiglass screens talking to their loved ones that they haven't seen in 2 years, and not being able to have any contact. And you know, there's no studies that have shown this objectively, but just from personal experience, there is a wave of poor quality of life that's affecting a lot of people. And anything we can do to keep people in the home is a public good, in my opinion.
I completely agree 100% there. 100%.
Fantastic. Man, we kind of ended on a downer. Can we let's
I know.
let's see that we're kind of wrapping things up. That was kind of a buzzkill to end on. Let's see. Let's get a positive to go on. So just to kind of put a pin in this discussion, tell me if I was sitting here and my loved one, I was worried about their home safety and I wanted to reach out and see. I knew they couldn't afford an assisted living home or a senior apartment. Tell me what that process is like, going through a Truehold. We pick up the phone, we give you guys a call, and then what happens?
Yeah, so you'll ideally in the Cleveland market area, you'll be talking to me, especially from a healthcare entity. Otherwise, if you're working with real estate agents, that's going to be my counterpart. But so say you were doing for a loved one, you would call me. One of the basic questions would be, how did you hear about us? Is this for you or is it for a loved one? And at that point, I would just want to make sure that your loved one has given you the right to kind of talk on their behalf and everything too. But the questions for me are very basic because I'm not a realtor by trade. So my questions will end up being, what do you think the home is worth? Any major repairs in the last 15 years? How old is your roof? HVAC, hot water tank? Anything else that I need to know about the house? Who's on the deed, mortgage? Basically, those are the major questions that are asked. And the best part about it is, if you're going through that just to see what it looks like, that costs nothing to you at all. The only time something costs anything is when someone agrees to those terms. So how we talked about the sale leaseback, how we come up with the price, the fair market value. We would submit, our internal team would submit, because I'm not allowed to talk about how, like, the price point of what they're giving you.
Yes.
That's a no-no in real estate world. So one of our internal people will be able to do that. So either our asset managers or transactional managers as well, they will contact and they will talk about the price point.
They'll walk you through the whole process.
They'll walk you through the whole process.
Tell you, it's going to cost this much. You're going to make this much money. This is what this is. This is what this fee is, and everyone has an open understanding of where things lie, for good or for bad.
Absolutely.
This is what it is. So I think it's always nice for people to understand that they have that element of choice and they have that element of freedom. Like we said earlier, this is not an option that's good for everyone.
Correct.
And you have that ability to, let's get numbers on paper. Call it up. There are no obligations here, and that's such a cheesy commercial line, but no, truly,
It's very true.
You're not obligated to do any of this. You don't have to give us a call, but if you want to know more, you give us a call. We'll put your phone number up here on the screen in the video. If anybody's curious, even if they just want to ask you a few questions, learn a little bit more about it, and there's no sign on the dotted line over the phone. This is, I would assume, the whole process from start to finish is a matter of weeks, if not months, I would assume.
So with the sale leaseback, so the process of me talking to you about your loved one, I submit that information. It's basically a 15 to 20 minute conversation, unless you have a lot more questions, and I'm more than happy to expend that time. But on average, it takes about 15 to 20 minutes to go over the basic questions. I submit it. Our internal team will get a price point, so home value, out within 48 hours. And at that point, they'll submit the offer request. Actually, no, mine's offer request. So they'll submit that price point, the sale leaseback option, to the individual. So it would be going to you or whoever your loved one would be at that point. And it would show how we came to this value for the home sale price as well as the leaseback. And at that point, you have the option of, oh, okay, this looks good. If you sign it right there, that's when we have that whole period of a 10-day due diligence period. Same thing you would have if you're selling your home on the market. At that point, one of our home inspectors will come in, take a look at it, make sure everything's okay. On average, when you're working with a realtor, there's a 1% to 3% price change that can adjust, just if they find different nuances in the home that need to be repaired. Same thing with us, so that's kind of a little precursor.
Par for the course for buying and selling a home.
Absolutely.
It's the normal BS you got to deal with buying and selling a home.
Absolutely.
Nothing out of the ordinary.
No, but the close period is 30 days at that point. So 10-day due diligence, 30-day close, which is pretty average for homes.
And they could get up to that point where they say, we're going to pay you X number of dollars for your home, and you're going to pay us Y number of dollars for rent. They can get those numbers in hand without any money spent, without any commitments. Is that correct?
Correct. And then if they agree to those terms, that's the only time where they'll do, if they have to do a credit check just for background or anything like that. But otherwise, no credit check. know nothing once we're submitting, just to see what it looks like.
Fantastic. Well, I could talk your ear off about home safety and, all these different challenges that we face, but, just to sum things up, I really do feel like this is going to be a good force in the world, and I hope that that's what it grows into. And
Yeah,
as you guys continue to expand into the Cleveland area, hopefully that we get a lot of people the help that they need, and we get a lot more people staying in their homes. So
I agree.
appreciate your time, Kyle.
And thanks so much for having me. Appreciate it.
All right.
Pleasure.
You guys take care. Until next time.